Chapter 16, Autonomic Nervous System. So the autonomic nervous system is, I'm going to call it the ANS, so you're going to hear me abbreviate it ANS. It maintains homeostasis by regulating involuntary activities. So the somatic nervous system is voluntary and controls skeletal muscle, but we're talking about the autonomic, the ANS, which controls smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and glands. So specific examples that the autonomic nervous system controls would be the heart rate, breathing rate, body temperature, and digestion. So the ANS is divided into three different parts: the sympathetic division, the parasympathetic division, and the enteric division. So peripheral nerves contain both motor and sensory neurons. So that means any given nerve may very well have motor neurons and sensory neurons. So those nerves may contain information, kind of think of it as like a interstate highway, right? There's roads going north and there's roads going south, and only the people on the south side can go south, and only the people on the north side can go north. Same way as bringing information to the brain versus going away from the brain, motor versus sensory. Among those motor neurons that we're discussing here, some of these are somatic and innervate or serve the skeletal muscles, while some are autonomic and innervate smooth muscle, cardiac, and glands. So to compare the somatic and autonomic nervous systems, I'm not going to read through this because I want to try to get through this whole PowerPoint in one screencast. So but make sure that you can tell the difference between the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. So that's just an image showing kind of where things are going. So the autonomic nerve plexuses and distribution of autonomic nerve fibers. So sympathetic axons reach organs through these four ways: spinal nerves, the head and neck nerve plexuses, thoracic nerve plexuses, and the abdominopelvic nerve plexuses. So when you think of sympathetic versus parasympathetic, okay, so enteric is fairly easy when you think of, and I'm going to go back up to this slide here. When we look at these divisions, we have sympathetic, parasympathetic, and enteric nervous systems. Those are all under the umbrella of autonomic nervous system. Sympathetic is the fight or flight, so it's survival mechanisms, diverts blood flow to certain parts of the body, and takes away blood flow to other parts of the body, slows certain body's activities in order for you to run away from a bear, right? When you're running away from a bear, you don't suddenly say, oh, I think I want to eat a hamburger, right? Or, oh, I suddenly have to go to the bathroom. The blood flow is diverted away from non-essential activities in order for you to get away from that bear. So lots of extra blood flow is going towards the muscles and the lungs in order for you to have enough energy to run away from the bear. In the parasympathetic division, that is the rest and digest type that you've probably heard it explained as rest and digest. So basically, when this division is kicking up its heels and doing stuff, then you have increased blood flow to the digestive organs, and you may have to now urinate, or you may have to go take a nap, right? And the enteric nervous system is focused on the digestive system. So let me pop back up where I was. Okay, so the sympathetic axons, they reach organs through there, and the parasympathetic axons reach organs through cranial nerves, vagus nerve, abdominopelvic nerve plexuses, and pelvic splanchnic nerves. It's a big tongue twister there. So the enteric nervous system consists of nerve plexuses within the walls of the digestive tract. the physiology of the autonomic nervous system. Basically, this is where I would want you to understand most about this system, is that it maintains homeostasis by adjusting body functions to match the level of physical activity. So back to when I said it's going to divert things away from, your stomach. Your blood flow is going to be diverted away from the stomach into the lungs and the muscles if you need to, get out of the way of a train or, whatever. I like the bear analogy better. But so dual innervation means that there are some organs that are innervated or served by both the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system, or divisions. Most organs are dually innervated. Not all of them are. But what that means is if, it's raising your heart rate during a sympathetic response, then the parasympathetic will decrease your heart rate during a parasympathetic response. So sympathetic influences are during exercise or survival, as in getting away from a bear, right? Fight or flight. Sympathetic, fight or flight. The sympathetic nervous system will increase your heart rate. It will dilate your blood vessels. It will dilate your air passages so we can get more air into the lungs, so we can transfer more oxygen through. Increase in glucose production, so it will suddenly release stores of glucose, so we have that glucose to break down to be able to make ATP, to be able to run away from the bear. And increase in body temperature, decrease in digestion, decrease in urine production. Parasympathetic influences during resting conditions. So when we've gotten away from the bear and now we're like, okay, we're safe now. The bear has been captured and put back into its, 4 million acre area of living space, and you're safe from the bear. Then suddenly, now your digestive organs will start working again. Your urine production will increase. Your heart rate will lower. Your air passages will constrict. So parasympathetic, rest and digest. Sympathetic, fight or flight. So this is on page 569 in your textbook. And on the worksheet that accompanies chapter 16, I added this is where you'll find the information. It's basically, I think I gave you the page number in the book of where to find it as well on the worksheet. But basically, I just want you to notice where the sympathetic may cause your heart rate to increase. The parasympathetic will do the opposite. And things like that. As far as, there's other things too. Like, I think I asked about the kidneys, what the difference in effects the sympathetic has versus the parasympathetic on certain parts of the body. So regulation of the autonomic nervous system. So we have autonomic reflexes that control most activity of the visceral organs, the glands, and the blood vessels. Autonomic reflex activity influenced by the hypothalamus and the higher brain centers. So it is the autonomic reflexes are controlled by the brain, but it is specifically the hypothalamus that has overall control of the ANS. So sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions influence activities of the enteric nervous system through autonomic reflexes. These also involve the central nervous system, but the enteric nervous system can function independently of the CNS through local reflexes. And an example of that is when the wall of the digestive tract is stretched. Sensory neurons send information to the enteric plexus, and then motor responses send to the smooth muscle of the gut, basically to tell the muscles to contract. So it's kind of like a negative feedback thing, if you think about it, where it's kind of, because there's something in your gut, it's going to cause the gut to do something. So, regulation of activity of the digestive tract. So these are from autonomic and local reflexes. The sensory neurons of the enteric plexuses supply the CNS with information, and then the autonomic neurons affect responses to the smooth muscle and glands. So I'm not going to get too excited about this. I think mostly for enteric, if you just know that that's associated with the digestive organs, that's the main thing I would like you to walk away from this chapter in relation to the enteric nervous system. Because this book, I didn't really ever teach about the enteric nervous system before until we switched to this book, so I don't really get super excited about it. Functional generalizations about the autonomic nervous system. So there's dual innervation to most organs, with sympathetic and parasympathetic having the opposite effects of each other. So where one kicks something up, the other one slows it down, and vice versa. When a single structure is dually innervated, meaning it is served by both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous systems. Usually the two ANS divisions have opposite effects, so it's basically saying the same thing the first line did. Either division alone can coordinate activities of different structures. For example, parasympathetic helps to control digestion. Both divisions may act together to coordinate the activities of different structures, and the effects of the ANS may be either general or local. Usually sympathetic effects are more widespread and general, and the parasympathetic effects are more local. So, that is it for the nervous system.